Today we want to talk about true freedom. True freedom comes in many forms, but there is no more important freedom than freedom found in the true circumcision of God. Throughout his life, in his ministry as an apostle, Paul had certain people who dogged him. They were known as Judaizers. They were false teachers who would often follow Paul wherever he went. They would try to bind new converts into the act of circumcision and following the law of Moses. As he writes this epistle of joy, encouraging brothers to rejoice in the Lord, he finds it necessary to warn them about these false teachers. He calls them the mutilators, and he refers to the true Christians as those who are circumcised in God's eyes. You see, true circumcision comes when people worship God in the Spirit, rejoice in Jesus Christ, and have no confidence in the flesh. He uses himself as an example when defining the attitude of those who have the true circumcision of God. In doing so, he actually shows us what true circumcision is all about. If anyone had true confidence in the flesh, it would be Paul. After all, he had many things to boast about. He was circumcised on the 8th day, a genuine Jew at birth, of the stock of Israel, a descendant of Jacob. Only Jews could boast of Jacob. They literally are the ones that were of the tribe of Benjamin. He was a Hebrew of Hebrews. Both his parents were Jews. He was true to the customs of the Jews, not Grecian or Hellenistic Jews, but rather he boasted of the religious nature that he was brought up in. Concerning the law, Paul was a Pharisee, a very religious person who belonged to a sect known for loyalty, patriotism, and conservatism when it comes to the law of Moses. Concerning his zeal, he made it quite clear he was a persecutor of the church. He was true to his conscience. When it comes to righteousness, he was considered blameless. He was not perfect, but in his diligence to fulfilling the law, he met all the requirements. Yet Paul considered all these things as a loss when it comes to knowing Christ. All these things could have been something that he would boast about. In fact, he lost many things when he chose to follow Christ. Yet compared to the knowledge of knowing Christ, Paul thought all these other things were nothing more than rubbish, literally dung, manure. Do we have confidence in our fleshly accomplishments? Do we take pride in our religious background, our religious heritage? Or do we consider everything rubbish? In fact, dung compared to knowing Jesus Christ. Those who were truly circumcised according to freedom in Christ rejoiced in Jesus Christ. Their joy was not in the material things of this world or fleshly things, but in Jesus Christ. As Paul considered his accomplishments nothing more than rubbish or dung, he was compelled to know Jesus. What does it mean to gain Christ? To be found in him, which includes not having a righteousness of our own, which is a law, but trusting through faith in Christ, righteousness that comes by faith, to know him. Here, Paul uses words that mean to recognize or to become acquainted with, a personal knowledge, not a theoretical one, but personal. He knew Jesus and his power. He had a desire to know the power of the resurrection, the same power that he wanted the Ephesians to know, a power that is first exempted by our baptism into Christ and shown throughout our lives, where our own body literally becomes a sacrifice. To know Jesus sacrificially and to share in his sufferings. Such fellowship of the suffering of Christ includes turning from sin, dying to oneself, having the hardships that Christ had. For Paul, those hardships included martyrdom. Yet it was worth it all for him to attain the resurrection of the dead. That's knowing the power of Jesus Christ. What about us? Is our goals the same? Do we want true joy? Is our true desire to know Christ intimately? If it is, then Paul says we should have the same attitude. For true circumcision has freedom. To worship God in the Spirit is true freedom. We see that Jesus first showed his concern when he met the woman caught in the act of adultery. But also, we see that our spirit of worship must be the same as that of the Samaritan woman. We need to never be satisfied with the present, rest on our laurels, or bemoan our failures, but rather we need to live to a standard of knowledge. The Samaritan woman tried to get away from the fact. She said, "We worship here." Jesus said, "There's a time coming when we'll all worship in truth and in spirit." We're going to obtain the knowledge of what it means to be devoted to the Son of God. Do we worship God by allowing his Spirit and the Spirit of the given word to rule in our lives? Do we consider a relationship that we develop with Christ our primary goal, our primary joy, and our primary focus? If we do, then we have true freedom in Christ and we have true circumcision. The reality is we need to trust Jesus. We need to be like him. We need to know his ultimate goal, to love everyone. But more than that, we need to participate in his sufferings. For our sacrifice today might be what people need. It may bring them to Christ. Till we meet again, we invite you to join us Sunday at the Clearview United Brethren Church. We are practicing social distancing. We have gloves, masks, and everything you might need. Come and worship with us. Until the next time, God bless.